everybody, I am Liz, and today I have a book tag for you. It is called The First Date Book Tag, and I first watched this by Kaz from The Little Book Owl and completely fell in love with it, and I know it's recently been going around BookTube. Its original creator is Kate's Book Date, and I will leave her original video down in the description below for you to check out more if you'd like to do this book tag. These questions are centered around first dates that you may or may not have while you're dating, and I felt like they were just so perfect for describing some of these book topics. The first question is the awkward first date, a book where something felt off. It wasn't bad, but it just missed a spark. And for that we have Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. And this book really fell flat for me. I think it's because really I was reading a lot of Fallen Angel stories, especially Fallen Angel YA romance stories, and it was just not there for me. It felt way too much like Fallen, even though I think this book might have been released first. But I read Fallen first, and so this book just did not hold its spark. Question 2 is The Cheap First Date, a book that turned out less than you expected. And for that book, we have Sea Glass by Maria V. Snyder. I read this book after the first 3 books in the study series because it is a companion novel, but some things happen in that series that you need to read before you continue on to the 4th book. And a lot of the tropes and a lot of the way the book was written just really got on my nerves. And so it really turned out much less than I expected because I love the study series so much. I do have to say that there was a silver lining with that, because when I moved on to the 2nd book in the series just completely amped up and it felt so much better. Question 3 is The Well-Prepared First Date, a book that was better than you expected. And for that we have Dead Until Dark by Charlaine Harris. This is book 1 in her world-famous True Blood series, also known as the Sookie Stackhouse series. And I read this when the first season came out on HBO. My sister raved about it, my mom raved about it, and so I decided I needed to figure out what this book series was, what this TV show was. I ended up not watching or liking the TV series, but I read almost the entire Sookie Stackhouse book series, and there are 11 books. I think I made it to 9 or 10 before I finally called it quits. However, the first half of the book series was phenomenal, especially the first book, Dead Until Dark. The 4th question is Hot But Dumb, a pretty book, not so hot on the inside. For that, I have Silent Echo by Alyssa Freilich. I heard about this book by Sasha from a book Utopia, so I decided I'm gonna buy this and I'm going to read it. It's a story about a siren who doesn't know she's a siren until she turns 16, where before she was a mute, now she has a voice and she can sing and force people to do things. And there's a lot of mythology from Homer's Odyssey that I absolutely loved being in the book, but the book itself, the premise, the whole plot and how it develops just wasn't for me, and I really found myself frustrated and irritated with the characters. But I do find the cover very appealing, very beautiful, especially with the eye makeup. I would love to be able to do that. I just don't think I am that skilled. Question 5 is The Blind Date, a book you picked up not knowing anything about. And for that, we have The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. The back synopsis is very vague. We know that there's a character named Rachel who rides a train, and then there's a girl who goes missing. That's basically it. And I read this because one of the doctors I work with recommended it to me. I stayed up and binge read it in one night, basically, and so I I am so happy I read it, and I'm really happy that I went in blind because you really don't want to know too much about this going in because you just want to be along for the ride. Question 6 is speed dating, a book you read super fast. And for that we have The Death Code by Lindsay Cummings. This is her second book in her murder complex duology. So I read the book in, I think, about 4 hours, and that really doesn't happen for me because this book is almost 500 pages and I'm a very slow reader. I'm lucky if I hit 50 pages in an hour, let alone over 100. So I really flew through that book. The 7th question is The Rebound, a book you read soon after a book hangover and it kind of ruined the book for you. And for that we have We Awaken by Callista Lynn. I read this book right after I read If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. It just didn't match up to the writing and the plot and just the complexity of If I Was Your Girl, and so it fell a little flat for me. I really enjoyed, the story and what I was learning and reading about because it takes place with 2 asexuals. So I did really enjoy the story. I just felt like it needed more, and the book was very small. It was less than 200 pages, and so I felt like the plot wrapped up very quickly, and so I just wanted more from the story than I actually got. The 8th question is The Overly Enthusiastic Date, a book that felt like they were trying just way too hard. And for that, we have the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. We have Obsidian, Onyx, and Opal. Those were the only 3 out of the 5 books that I managed to read because I felt like it was trying way too hard to be this sci-fi YA romance book. It was really complimentary to a lot of the issues I had with Twilight. So I think as a teenager I would have loved it, but reading as an adult I did not care for the story and all of that stuff. Although I do have to say this book is another one that had a silver lining. I really absolutely enjoyed reading Jennifer L. Armentrout's book endings. She knows how to write a really great cliffhanger. So kudos to her, just sorry your book wasn't for me. Question 9 is The Perfect Date, a book that did everything right for you. The answer that first popped in my mind is BioShock Rapture by John Shirley. This is a book made and devoted to the BioShock fans. It is a prequel story and it just had everything I needed in a BioShock prequel. I wanted a little bit more of Andrew Ryan's backstory, but the story itself, the story of how Rapture became Rapture, was just everything that I needed. The last question, question 10, is The Humiliating First Date, a book you're embarrassed to admit you liked or that you were embarrassed to see reading in public for whatever reason. And I have mentioned this many a times, and I'm not usually embarrassed to read books in public, but in a sense, I am very embarrassed about my Twilight journey. I was one of those teenagers that absolutely fell in love and adored the Twilight series, even though it's filled with all of its relationship problems and writing problems, but it really did help get me into reading, so I do appreciate the story for what it meant to me as I was growing up. But looking back, I am a bit embarrassed, and I know that if I ever walked out in public with the Twilight books, I would definitely be very embarrassed today. So there is the first date book tag. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I highly encourage you guys do this tag because it is so much fun. And I hope to see you guys next time. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. So I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye!